The last couple of days have been absolutely crazy for crypto, not because prices are up so much, and also not really because prices are down so much. I mean, we're not doing amazing, but looking at the charts here, yeah, we're down a couple of cents. XRP is down to $2.10. Bitcoin down to, let's quickly see where it's at right now, about 81.5K. Bad? You could definitely say something along those lines. Ethereum below $1,800, but, and here comes the kicker, I think mostly it's just because of Trump. I mean, one of the most recent statements that just came out 2 hours ago, President Trump says reciprocal tariffs will be imposed on all countries. And actually, that's not the only thing that's been going around. Really, when you're looking through some of the news that's been going on, it's mostly just Trump. President Trump says he is very angry and pissed off at Putin, threatening secondary tariffs on all oil coming out of Russia. Every single time, and this we established like a few weeks ago, every single time Trump starts talking about tariffs, the entire market just seems to fall. Now, in the back end, things really are quite good for crypto. Senator Cruz says Elizabeth Warren and China hate Bitcoin because the government can't control it. Yeah, that does make sense. Or even this announcement right here. El Salvador's pro-Bitcoin president, 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓, to visit the White House for talks with President Trump this month, or actually next month, in a day, obviously. But getting back to tariffs, look at this. President Trump to announce new pharmaceutical tariffs, and just before that, $1.25 trillion wiped out of the U.S. stock market in a day. So basically, generally speaking, it's mostly, I think, been tariffs that are causing the traditional stock market to move so much that is then also causing our cryptos to move. President Trump says he had good talks with Canadian PM Carney and expects things to work out well between the U.S. and Canada. But yeah, it's let's just state it is a lot. European Union to make trade concessions to avoid President Trump's reciprocal tariffs. But again, right now he just stated reciprocal tariffs are coming up very, very soon. And it's basically wrecking everything. But ultimately, it might be so that just because it's bad in the short term, and this is also what Trump states, it actually comes out better in the end. Well, he just basically states America's going to be so rich. And Jim Cramer, who's always wrong, said, I am pro-tariff. Absolutely. I hate free trade. I think it's been embarrassment for our country. It costs us fortunes. Everybody picks on us. There's just no end to it. So, yeah, it is an interesting one. Anyway, like I was stating earlier, if you really start looking at the crypto adoption and how well things are going, you would just see more and more of these announcements, more major countries, more major institutions. In this case here, we have BlackRock Global Allocation Fund disclosing $47.4 million in Bitcoin ETF holdings. It's just pretty crazy when you really start thinking about it. But regardless, almost everything else is coming back to tariffs. Elon Musk says the tariff impact on Tesla is still significant. President Trump announces 25% tariffs on all cars not made in the US. Yeah, you get it. And that goes on for a bit, because I'm reading more here. Vietnam to cut tariffs on U.S. products, including cars and gas, to avoid President Trump's reciprocal tariffs. It's just the news that's going around right now. Another one, 10 hours ago. Trump threatens tariffs on more Russian oil over Ukraine because... Anyway, so if you're wondering why our market's moving so much, a lot of it probably has to do with this. And ultimately, you can talk as much as you want about crypto, but really, when the macro looks so weird, what can you really do, right? Now, there's Walter Bloomberg who said Trump won't rule out a third term, says there are ways to do it, which is interesting. It has community notes, though, so I'm not so sure. But here was an interesting one, actually. Do you know that Bitcoin did about a 100x after the 2012 halving, a 30x after the 2016 halving, an 8x after the 2020 halving, and then now a 0.2x or so after the halving? I'm not sure it's actually 0.2. I think it's just 1.2x. I'm not so sure if that could actually be true. But anyway, you get the idea. And the point there being that really, if you really start properly thinking about where the cycle we are at, it just makes too much sense that we are still at, I wouldn't say an early stage of it, but still in the middle of it, in the middle of the bull run, just like how we basically saw April or so to, let's call it October of 2024. It kind of feels as if we're in one of those slow periods as well, where just January 19th or so, we saw the top. Bitcoin hit 109,000. Everything was doing amazing, but it was mostly just being siphoned out of our market with Trump's coin taking over so much money and Melania coin coming out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then now it's kind of like a little cool off period where nothing really is happening. But in the background, we're moving on. And I'd say that the all-time high most likely will still be around the September or so mark, if you think about it. So from April last season, it took maybe about 9 or so months, because I'm not sure if it was somewhere in March, or let's just say about 9 months or so from the 2024 debacle to get ourselves to new all-time highs. If we again count that from January, it's going to take, again, just like in 2024, another 9 months or so to get to peak. Well, it could be around the October level or so. And again, it might be that the peak for Bitcoin is slightly earlier than the peak for altcoins, but I still have my range between August of 2025 and January of 2026 for the all-time high. And so it becomes more a question of, what are we doing right now? I'm buying dips of many, many coins, sure, but I always do that. Right now, I'm more so thinking indeed of, well, and this is because of the comments for a lot of it. If Bitcoin is so much in demand, so many institutions really want to adapt, so many institutions really want it, what would be the next coin that has a similar sort of value proposition, but with really better utility? And you already know which coin I'm probably talking about. There's actually a few though, but really, it comes back to saying XRP is one of those coins which has just such huge potential at a point like this. And that's really why I'm mainly focusing on it. That's really why I'm mainly just buying it. That's why times like this are really not that hard, because it's one of the strongest coins out there. It goes down as one of the least. And I would say I've realized that if you spread your coins too thin and one coin goes on a crazy rally, to some extent, you don't really notice it then. Or let me rephrase it like this. I, to some extent, would prefer in markets like this that are kind of bearish to have a few solid pockets of coins that just don't go down as much to protect me from the downside. Because think about it, right? Let's say you've got $100. If the price goes down 50%, that's pretty significant, it goes down 50%. You got to make 100% from your $50 now to make your $100 back. If you just protect yourself mostly from downside, it's just way easier to make upside, because in a bull market, things just do so well. Now, XRP used to always be a late runner, but this season, it's one of the earliest and one of the trend setters, really. We are basically expecting that that movement basically to continue, where XRP again goes on a crazy rally and many altcoins in the utility sector follow along. But for the most part, what we're caring about now in bearish markets, in mostly sideways or slightly downwards, is protecting our gains, making sure we don't go down a ton. And the easiest way to do that is by DCAing, buying the freaking bottom, making sure your average price goes lower and lower. Because ultimately, if you had bought XRP at $2, or even right now at $2.20 consecutively, it would have been very, very hard to make a loss. I mean, I don't know how you could have, but you just get my drift, right? You just kept on buying. And I think that will continue over a prolonged period of time, as long as the bull market isn't over. But even if it is, again, if you're buying strong coins, theoretically speaking, if they just go down slightly more than Bitcoin, but have way more upside potential, it could be worth it. But if you're buying a meme coin or a very, very small cap, it's just too volatile. You got to really have the timing a bit more correct. And that's why I say, with a lot of those, stick to them when the market's green, when things are good, and stick to more solid coins that have potential to be runners, but mostly just go down that much when the market's mediocre to, a little bit bearish, like right now. Ultimately, again, I don't think the run is over. I think we're still seeing the best parts ahead of us. Right now is a bit of a slow period, but again, we'll get there. So it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of patience. We'll get there. And I'm crazy bullish still. Just wanted to say that mostly what's going on right now is Trump's tariffs. Just wondering what's going on. It's that, but I'm still buying, I'm still holding, I'm still super bullish. And I think it's just a matter of time.